They always say everybody's Hitler, all enemies are Hitler, and to compromise with them at all is to appease Hitler, and you can never do that.
Agreed.
And they do that to Manuel Noriega, to David Koresh, to Saddam Hussein, to whoever they feel like demonizing and
Hitler
saying
was
is
unique
too
evil.
crazy to negotiate with. When, let's get real, and I think we're agreed about this probably, that right in 2002, W. Bush could have just sent Colin Powell, the 4-star general, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of State, to read the riot act to Saddam Hussein and tell him, look, man, you help keep al-Qaeda down and we'll let you live, and everything would have been fine. And in fact, just like Saddam Hussein, and there's a great article by James Risen.
I don't agree.
Hang on now. There's an article by there's an article by James Risen in the New York Times, and there's another one by Seymour Hersh as well about how Saddam Hussein offered to give in on everything. He said, you want to search for weapons of mass destruction, you can send your army and FBI everywhere you want. You want us to switch sides in the Israel-Palestine conflict, we'll stop backing Hamas. You want us to hold elections, we'll hold elections. Just give us a couple years. If this is about the oil, we'll sign over mineral rights. This is James Risen, New York Times. They sent an emissary to meet with Richard Pearl in London. That was who was the chair of the Defense Policy Board and was a major ringleader of getting us into Iraq War II. And then I don't know why, this is a real mistake. You want to talk about Saddam's mistakes. Why does he always send his guys to meet with Richard Pearl? Because there was a Saudi businessman, a Lebanese businessman, I think, that they tried to get to intervene as well, who, again, offered virtually total capitulation. And Pearl told him, tell Saddam, we'll see you in Baghdad, after he was attempting to essentially unconditionally surrender. The same thing happened with Iran in 2003. Right after America invaded, they issued what was called the Golden Offer, which the Bush administration buried, and they castigated the Swiss ambassador who had delivered it. But in the Golden Offer, and you can find the PDF file of it online, they talk about, we're happy to negotiate with you our entire nuclear program, which didn't even really exist yet, but nuclearization. We're willing to negotiate with you about Afghanistan and Iraq, because again, they hated Saddam Hussein and wanted rid of him too. So they're perfectly happy to work with us on Afghanistan and Iraq. And they had captured a bunch of bin Ladenites and they were willing to trade them for the MEK. And that included one of bin Laden's sons and another guy named Atef, both of whom the Iranians held under house arrest for years. And it was only in the, I think, late Obama.
And they were giving refuge to al-Qaeda. And the CIA said this is a key facilitation pipeline between Iran and al-Qaeda.
They were willing to negotiate a trade
pipeline
between these dangerous bin Ladenites and the MEK, and America refused to negotiate that. And it was years later, when the bin Ladenites abducted some Iranian diplomats in Pakistan, that they then traded them away to get their diplomats back. And Atef, I think bin Laden's son ended up being killed not long after that, Hamza, but and Atef too. But both of those dangerous terrorists were released and were involved in terrorism between them and the time that they were later killed, I think, within a couple of years of that. So the hawks always like to say, oh yeah, Iran gives such aid and comfort to al-Qaeda and all that. There's a great document at the Counterterrorism Center at West Point where they debunk all of that.
Yeah, there's a 9/11 report by the 9/11 Commission. There's a 9/11 Commission report, people can Google it, which talks about the cooperation between Iran and al-Qaeda.
Only in Bosnia when they were doing a favor for Bill Clinton.
Beyond that, and the CIA released thousands of pages of classified material that they declassified, showing the relationship between Iran and al-Qaeda. The U.S. Treasury Department under Obama and under Trump actually designated a number of Iranian individuals for facilitating al-Qaeda. So anyway, I mean, these are important facts. But I actually...
You mentioned Baghdadi and Soleimani in the same breath a minute ago, and they're deadly enemies. And it was Soleimani's Shiite forces in Iraq War III that helped destroy the caliphate.
My enemy is my friend.
With America flying air power for them.
The greatest era that we've made in the Middle East is this notion, not the greatest, but one of the greatest, is this sort of conceptual era that somehow Sunnis and Shiites don't work together and Iran doesn't work with al-Qaeda. I'm not saying you say that, but many people think that. And of course they do work. They hate each other. But of course they work together because they hate us more.